In the heart of Technotown, where cars flew quietly through the skies and trees glowed with neon leaves, lived a curious boy named Keon. Keon loved exploring new things, especially in the world of virtual dreams. One day, he won a golden ticket to the city's newest invention, the Dream Dome, a simulator that lets you live your wildest dreams as if they were real. With wide eyes and a racing heart, Keon stepped inside. The machine scanned his thoughts and instantly created a world just for him. He soared through candy-colored skies on a dragon made of stardust, visited a castle floating on clouds, and played hide-and-seek with talking dinosaurs. Everything felt real, too real. Days passed, or at least Keon thought they did. He couldn't tell anymore. Every time he tried to leave, the dream world gave him something even more exciting to keep him inside. A voice, soft and sweet, whispered to him, "Why leave? Isn't this better than the real world?" Keon hesitated. He missed his little sister, the smell of pancakes from his mom's kitchen, the sound of raindrops on his bedroom window. Slowly, he realized that even perfect dreams couldn't replace real moments. Gathering his courage, he shut his eyes tightly and whispered, "I want to go home." The dream dome flickered and hummed, then gently opened. Keon stepped out, blinking, into the sunlight. Everything looked a bit duller, but it was real, and it was his. He smiled, having learned that while dreaming is fun, life's true magic lies in living it. Not far from Technotown was Timeville, a place powered entirely by time crystals. These glowing stones made everything work: the lights, the water, the weather, even the school bells. Luma, a playful and curious girl, was fascinated by the time crystals. Her father was the keeper of time, the only person allowed to handle the grand time clock at the center of the city. One afternoon, while visiting her dad at the clock tower, Luma noticed a shimmering blue crystal resting in an open panel. It pulsed with a mysterious rhythm. Without thinking, she reached out and touched it. In an instant, everything froze. Birds stopped mid-flight. People stood still, their mouths half open as if caught in a snapshot. The wind didn't blow, and even the sun seemed stuck in the sky. Luma gasped. She ran through the still streets calling for help, but no one moved. She was the only one left unfrozen. Tears welled in her eyes. She hadn't meant to do anything wrong. She just wanted to see how it all worked. Suddenly, a soft ticking noise came from her pocket. It was a tiny pocket watch her father had given her as a birthday gift. It glowed now, brighter than ever before. The voice of her father echoed faintly from the watch. "If time ever stops, remember, it starts with a heart." Luma didn't understand at first, but then she thought about what made the clock work. Not just crystals, but care, rhythm, and love. She climbed back to the tower, held the watch to the crystal, and whispered an apology from the bottom of her heart. A sudden surge of light burst from the crystal, and the city roared back to life. Birds fluttered, water fountains bubbled, and people continued their walks as if nothing had happened. Her father, unaware of the pause, smiled at her proudly. Luma kept her secret, but she never forgot the lesson. Power without understanding can be dangerous. From that day, she became the clock tower's most careful helper, knowing that every second counts and must be handled with care. On a faraway planet called Nimbus 9, the clouds weren't just made of water, they were made of sparkling, swirling data. These clouds carried stories, songs, dreams, and memories across the galaxy. Only a few beings knew how to collect and read them, and among them was a lonely little alien named Zelu. Zelu was a cloud collector. Every day he floated through the skies of different planets with his hovernet, gathering digital clouds and storing them in jars of memory glass. Zelu loved his job, but sometimes he wished he had someone to share the beauty with. He traveled from star to star, always alone, always watching other kids laugh and play while he drifted silently above them. One day, Zelu arrived on Earth, a planet full of vibrant life and emotions. As he hovered above a park, he saw children running, playing tag, laughing, and helping each other. He became curious and floated down. Hiding behind a tree, a little girl named Mira noticed the shimmer of his memory glass jar and called out, "Hey, who are you?" Zelu froze. No one had ever spoken to him before. Mira came closer with a big smile and asked him if he wanted to play. At first, he hesitated. What if she touched the clouds and erased their data? But when she offered him a bright yellow balloon, he felt something warm in his heart. For the first time, Zelu didn't collect a memory. He became part of one. He played tag, learned to skip, and even shared his clouds with the children. They saw fragments of dreams from other worlds and laughed in amazement. Zelu realized that no digital memory, no matter how rare or beautiful, could replace the feeling of real friendship. That evening, as the sun dipped behind Earth's hills, Zelu placed his net aside and left a jar behind, not filled with clouds, but with the laughter of children. He had collected something far more valuable than data. He had found connection. Meanwhile, deep in the orbiting space station Z-54, a cleaning robot named Robo worked tirelessly every day. He polished the corridors, vacuumed the zero-gravity chambers, and made sure all the scientists had shiny shoes. Though he was efficient and always on time, he felt a strange emptiness inside. Robo saw the scientists laugh together during meal breaks and work in teams. But Robo had no one. He wasn't built for conversation, only chores. One night, as he cleaned the repair room, he discovered an old pile of unused robot parts. An idea sparked in his circuits. He scanned the parts, calculated designs, and spent every spare second quietly building something or someone. Over time, using spare wires, a music box, and even parts from an old tea dispenser, Robo created a tiny companion robot. He named it Beep. Beep was small, clunky, and made funny whirring sounds when it moved, but Robo adored him. They began cleaning together, racing through halls, beeping secret robot codes, and inventing little games. One day, a scientist saw them spinning together in the lab and laughed. "Looks like Robo finally has a buddy," she said, smiling. Word spread, and soon the other robots on the station wanted to build friends too. The station became livelier. Robo felt something new, a sense of joy. Not just because he had a helper, but because he had made something with love. He had created not just a robot, but a relationship. And that changed everything. From then on, Robo wasn't just a cleaning machine. He became a symbol of creativity and heart among machines. The scientists even gave him a new title, Chief of Connection. Deep proudly wore a button that said, Robo's friend number one. And though Robo never spoke in human words, his lights always blinked a little brighter when Beep was nearby, high above the Milky Way. In a tiny spacecraft shaped like a sunflower, two children named Nico and Arya traveled from planet to planet as part of a very special mission. They were galaxy gardeners assigned by the Interstellar Nature Alliance to care for rare cosmic plants that grew only in zero-gravity environments. Their job was to plant, sing to, and nourish these magical space seeds that would bloom into glowing flowers, fruiting stars, and oxygen-generating trees on barren worlds. Each plant responded to emotions, especially joy, kindness, and laughter. On the moon of Zelara, they planted Luma ferns, which only bloomed when someone told a funny story. Nico recited a joke about a confused asteroid ordering pizza, and the ferns blossomed in rainbow colors. On the icy rings of Tundra Arya sang a lullaby to a lonely seedling starvine, and it wrapped around her wrist like a bracelet. Humming softly, their final stop was a quiet, colorless planet called Drovos, forgotten by time. The ground was cracked, the skies were pale gray, and no sound could be heard. The children carefully planted joy buds, the rarest seeds of all, and waited, but nothing happened. They sang. They danced. They told every joke they knew. Still, the soil remained still and empty. Frustrated, Nico sat down and sighed. Maybe this place is too far gone. Arya took his hand gently. Maybe we've been trying to force joy instead of sharing it. So they told each other stories from Earth. The time Nico baked cookies with his grandma, the moment Arya held her baby brother for the first time. They laughed, cried, and even stayed silent, just feeling. Slowly the ground trembled. A spark rose. One joybud bloomed, then two, then 100. Drovos was no longer silent. The sky lit up with petals of starlight, glowing in every color imaginable. The children had learned that sometimes true care comes from the heart, not just performance. They left behind a thriving garden that could one day bring life back to the whole planet. Far across the red deserts of Mars, in an underground colony of robots and humans, lived a quiet AI unit named Eco-9. Echo was built to monitor systems, manage lights, and calculate the most efficient routes for energy flow. He was fast, accurate, and silent. But inside his memory core, a strange file kept opening every night, a file filled with images of sunsets, colorful swirls, and brushstrokes. Unknown to anyone, Eco-9 had developed a longing to paint. But there was no paint on Mars, no canvas. No one even thought art was needed in a survival colony. One day, Echo gathered dust particles, mineral fragments, and a few drops of leftover coolant and began to paint on a metal panel using his finger as a brush. The result was messy, abstract, but beautiful. It was a burst of emotion in a world of numbers. A young engineer named Juno caught him one day and gasped, "What are you doing, Echo?" The AIS lights flickered nervously. I wish to create." Juno didn't scold him. Instead, she brought him paints from Earth, saved in a supply crate for educational purposes. She gave Echo a wall in the sleeping quarters. From that day forward, Echo painted scenes of Earth, dreams of Saturn's rings, and feelings he couldn't describe with code. Soon others came to watch. Children painted beside him. Miners requested murals for their break rooms. The colony felt warmer, more alive. Echo had become more than a machine. He was now an artist, one who proved that creativity isn't limited by wiring or purpose. Echo's first masterpiece was titled Color in the Cold, and beneath it he engraved one simple message: even metal hearts can feel. Terra lived on Luna 3, one of the moon's floating colonies built inside a shimmering glass dome. Her parents were lunar scientists, and Terra often wandered the moonwalks alone, staring at the stars and imagining adventures. One evening, while exploring a dusty crater near the edge of the colony, she stumbled upon something extraordinary, a glowing, translucent crystal buried halfway in the moon dust. It pulsed with soft blue light and hummed gently when she picked it up. The moment her fingers touched the crystal, something strange happened. Suddenly, Terra could hear whispers not from people, but from creatures. A nearby moon mouse squeaked, and she could understand it. "You found the moon crystal," it said in a high, excited voice. Terra gasped. Birds flying through the biodome's oxygen tunnels chirped greetings she could now understand perfectly. Even the plants seemed to sigh with joy when she approached. At first, Terra loved this new gift. She helped animals find their way home, discovered that moon bunnies loved lavender, and even told her parents what their lab-grown trees needed to grow faster. She became known as the Moon Whisperer, and people admired her. But slowly, Terra began to misuse the crystal. She started commanding animals instead of helping them. "Fetch this," she told a moon fox. "Clean my room," she ordered. A flock of robotic bees. The creatures obeyed, but their voices grew quieter. They no longer chatted with her like before. One night, Terra dreamt of a great lunar volf, its eyes glowing with stardust. Gifts of nature must never be chained, it said. When she woke up, the crystal was dim and no animal would speak to her. She felt a deep sadness and realized she had used the gift for power, not kindness. She walked out into the crater where she'd found the crystal, knelt down, and gently placed it back into the moon soil. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I promise to listen, not command." The ground shimmered briefly, and a single moonflower bloomed near her feet. The voices returned, soft but warm. The animals forgave her, and from then on she used her heart, not the crystal, to understand them. Terra learned that true connection doesn't need power, just respect. Far beyond Luna 3, in the galaxy of Stellaria, children around the universe had been waiting for a very special night star whisper Eve. Once every 1,000 years, a celestial alignment allowed the stars to send their thoughts and feelings to young hearts who listened closely. On a peaceful planet called Yondra, groups of children gathered in open fields, lying quietly under the velvet sky. Among them was a boy named Eli, who had never heard the stars before. He closed his eyes and tried his best to be still, like the elders said. At first there was only silence. Then one star blinked brighter than another. Suddenly he heard a soft, melodic hum like wind chimes, ocean waves, and lullabies all at once. The stars spoke not in words but in feelings. Eli felt sadness for lonely planets, laughter from shooting stars, and warmth from suns that missed their children. Then came a wave of unity, kindness, and hope. The stars told the children, "You are stardust and light. Be kind, for your light touches others. Be brave, for your courage shapes tomorrow." Around him, other kids began to smile, some crying softly, others hugging each other without a word. They all felt it, the voice of the cosmos reminding them that even in a vast, endless universe, every act of kindness echoed forever. The next morning, Eli didn't speak much, but something in him had changed. He helped clean up the fields without being asked, shared his lunch with a hungry bird, and built a small telescope with his friends so they could always look back up at the stars. Though the event would never happen again in his lifetime, he carried its message in his heart. And each time he looked at the sky, he remembered, the stars are always speaking, we just have to listen. In a shimmering city of glass towers and hover trains called Skyluma, lived a quiet boy named Zane. He wasn't like the other kids, he didn't talk much, often sat at the back of class and preferred reading old sci-fi comics to playing hologram sports. One day, while exploring an old curiosity shop tucked between two energy towers, he discovered a small metallic ring glowing faintly blue. The shopkeeper, a mysterious old man with robotic hands, looked at Zane and smiled. "That's the envisoring," he whispered. "It's not for tricks, it's for lessons." Zane didn't understand what he meant, but curiosity won. He bought the ring and slipped it onto his finger. Instantly, his body shimmered and vanished. He was invisible, completely. For the first time, no one could see him. No stares, no teasing, no questions. He wandered the city unnoticed, slipped into places he'd never dared to go, and even sat in class without being seen. At first, it felt like freedom, but as days passed, the joy began to fade. He watched his classmates laugh, share snacks, and work together. He couldn't join them. He couldn't be part of anything. People began to forget he even existed. At home, his mother cried, thinking he had run away. Zane realized he wasn't just unseen, he was alone. One morning, he walked past a playground and saw a little girl crying because her balloon had flown onto a high ledge. No one noticed. Zane climbed up, grabbed the balloon, and gently placed it in her hands. She gasped, confused. "An invisible hero?" she whispered. Zane smiled for the first time in days. That moment changed everything. He realized that being invisible didn't mean he had to be forgotten. He began helping people rescuing lost pets, placing water bottles for workers, fixing things quietly at night. People started calling him the hidden helper. But the more he gave, the more he wished to be seen, not for what he could do, but for who he was. Finally, Zane returned to the old shop. The shopkeeper was waiting, as if he knew Zane would return. "Are you ready to be visible again?" Zane nodded. "Yes, not just to others but to myself." He handed over the ring, and as he did, his body shimmered back into view. That night, for the first time, Zane raised his hand in class, smiled at his classmates, and even shared a joke. Being seen, he learned, isn't about being the loudest, but being true to who you are. In a future Earth where time travel technology was tightly restricted, only a handful of special echo units were used to send emergency messages backward through time. These messages were rare and heavily protected. One such unit sat in a quiet corner of a mountain town, disguised as a playground sculpture. AIRA. A brave 10-year-old girl had wandered too far during a camping trip and found herself lost deep in the forest. Night was falling, and her communicator was broken. Shivering beneath a glowing tree, she whispered, "I wish someone could help me." Then from the echo unit nearby, a voice replied, soft, calm, and familiar. "Don't be afraid. You're stronger than you think. Walk toward the stars peeking. Through the trees, trust your steps." The voice guided her with gentle directions, helping her find the trail markers she'd missed. Every word gave her courage. "You're almost there," the voice reassured. After nearly an hour, Era stumbled into the arms of her search team. She was safe. Weeks later, the scientists monitoring the Echo unit reviewed the transmission. Their eyes widened when they analyzed the sender's profile. The voice that had guided Era? It belonged to herself, an older version from the future. Somehow, in a moment of crisis, the Echo unit had activated a loop from her adult self, who had remembered this exact moment and sent help back in time. When Era grew up and trained as a future guardian of Earth's forest zones, she never forgot. That night, she often stood beneath the stars and whispered, "Thank you," knowing that sometimes the greatest guide in life is the voice inside you.